Hello, my name is Ida, and in our group we made an interactive museum experience and we decided to call it Uncover the Ruins. And during this presentation, I will take you through the concept and some thoughts related to it, as well as some of my takeaways from this project. Yeah, and much more. Let's get into it. Our prototype was designed for an archaeological museum with the goal of creating a more engaging and interactive visitor experience. So this means that the tomb would be a simulation made on digital walls in a somewhat dark room that museum guests can choose to explore as part of their entire museum visit. And personally, I think it was very interesting how we mixed ancient history with modern technology, and the experience combines physical exploration with digital storytelling while also encouraging curiosity and discovery throughout the journey. And if visitors feel like it, they can test their knowledge at the end of the final challenge, where they are asked to reconstruct Egyptian history using the artifacts from the tomb walls. And the intention of the final challenge of the experience is to make the exhibition content more memorable, as well as rewarding for the visitors, as they get to gain some knowledge in a simple format. And they also get to take a super cool photo with their friends. And our experience concept aimed for a sweet spot that incorporated elements from all four corners of Pine and Gilmore's experience domains, which leads me to our design and development choices. And obviously, there is a lot to touch on when it comes to design and development choices. So I decided to pick two relevant choices that we made that I find extra exciting to discuss. And one of our key design decisions was using the torch as torch. That's a difficult word for me, but as an enchanted object. And as a physical and tangible tool, it transforms visitors from passive observers into active explorers. And this is something we also touch on in our shared group documentation. The part where they can physically feel the torch in their hand, and how that helps with leaning into the immersive part of the experience. And also, the torch supports two of the core desires behind enchanted objects that we learned from David L. Rose. And the first one being omniscience, because visitors use it to uncover hidden artifacts and they discover new knowledge. And the second one being expression, because it encourages a playful exploration and active interaction with the exhibition. So that makes it an enchanted object that would otherwise just be a plastic torch, but then it has a whole new level with the enchantment. So it becomes so much more than just the torch itself. And then rather than simply reading information, visitors become part of the story and they uncover the secrets of the tomb themselves, creating a more immersive and memorable experience. And that's what we aim for. And secondly, I wanted to touch on some of the technology that we use to develop our prototype. And that includes Figma Make and Claudin React. And we used it for two different parts of the prototype, and we were able to use the tools as needed in the developing process, which I think was really great, and felt like we had somewhat ownership over these AI tools. And for instance, most of our prototype was made in Figma design, but because we actually found it easier to build a somewhat simpler prototype in Figma, in a more manual way, and then prompting Figma Make to give us some ideas, and then we used some of the visual design that it gave us that we really liked. It had some great ideas for the aesthetics of the experience, which we know from Pine and Gilmore can play a very crucial role in an experience. So we wanted that to be great as well. And would I use the tools again? I could definitely see myself using both Figma Make and Claudin React again. I think especially Figma Make to make interactive prototypes on a level that I'm not able to do in Figma Design, because it can incorporate technologies and things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to. So I think that's really cool, and definitely something I see the value in. And for the technical side, we used Claude with React to build the interactive torch system and core functionality, where we could use a phone as a placeholder for the real torch. So when we tested and tried our prototype, it still had that feeling of holding something physical and tangible, and that interaction between something that we did with movement and something that was happening on the screen. And this choice was made because it allowed us to quickly prototype and test the interaction without relying on physical hardware or complex integrations that were maybe above our level in time schedule. So that was really cool, and there was definitely a lot of excitement in the group when we managed to bring our idea to life, and something I think we all was very fond of. In addition to what I have been talking about otherwise, I would really like to address some potential improvements for the next iteration, being the design digital content developer that I am. And I would argue that although we left with interactive elements, we are left with interactive elements that are well on their way to reflecting the museum experience we wanted to create for the visitors. There is still room for improvement, and this includes, among others, looking at how the connection can be clearer, I think, between the first part of the museum where visitors use the torch for exploration, and also the and the connection with the subsequent quiz or like final challenge section where they are not using the torch anymore, but they still need some of the connection from before, from the exploration part. And in our shared group documentation, we did discuss how an explainer video at the entrance will give visitors an overview of the experience, and this will definitely help bridge the gap between the two parts of the experience. But I also believe there could be the connection could be even better with triggers, maybe inspired by the fog behavioral model. So we needed to be there needs to be some motivation, and we obviously have the photo part and the test your knowledge. Also, it should be very easy to do. We would have multiple screens at the close to the exit of the exhibition. So and also screens that maybe look like something you know from elsewhere. So there's not very high barriers to engage with this. And maybe some triggers that will remind you that you have to do this. I think that's where we could really take this to a new level. And the same goes for the exploration part of the experience. I think that could be strengthened even more if the solution were designed more like an escape room rather than just part of an exhibition. So users were not necessarily disturbed by other museum visitors, but it would be something you would do with your friends. And the gamification part would obviously also be enhanced, because maybe there would be like a time you had to do it within. And the ideas are many, and the time is little for me now. So I'm going to move on to the next and final subject that I want to touch on in this video. But I think there's still room for some improvement, even though we did make something that I also think turned out to be really great. But lastly, I want to touch on how I contributed both through my design skills and my role in the group. And I worked primarily in Figma, where I was responsible for designing the UX and UI of the final part of the experience. And I also contributed to ideation, project planning, documentation, and user testing. And I helped communicate and structure the group work, which are all things that I enjoy to do. So that was really great that there was space for me to do that. On the other hand, something that I learned and I think was really cool was that I gained a better understanding of how physical and digital interactions can be connected. And this is thanks to Martin, especially from our group, because through the developing processes, he shared with us how sensors and gyroscopes, I believe they're called, can be used to control digital experience in real time, like a recontrol. And I think it's so cool to gain experience and knowledge on how that works, because it's something that I know from my own life. And I think that was really, really cool to have that knowledge now. And definitely gonna look more into it, I believe. Thank you so much for listening along. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. And I wish you a great summer. Bye!